What's up, everybody? This is your boy Uber Hikari, aka the Nerd Nigga, here to bring you another video with no frills, just the analysis. And today I'm here to bring you the review of Naruto Chapter 671, entitled Naruto and the Sage of the Six Paths. Alright, so a lot of you were wondering about what happened to last week's chapter review, and I'll just point you to my channel update video where I explicitly said I make no promises. I was busy, and that's that. That's all I have to say about that. But to kind of make it up to you guys, I have a funny story to tell you about something that happened to me today. So if you've been keeping tabs on my channel, you know that I've been liking a lot of different fitness videos over the last couple of weeks, and I'm starting to get serious about this. I went to the Y, checked out their gym. I'm probably going to buy a gym membership. I'm completely 100% into this. I'm even down to tracking my macros. For those of you who are in the fitness, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, I decided to go to the store to get me some sneakers because I just wanted some regular workout sneakers. Nothing too fancy. Just, you know, $20-$30 pair, just workout sneakers. Obviously, I don't want to work out in my Nike Air Force Ones. Anybody who owns a pair of Air Forces knows those are not workout sneakers. Anyway, I went to the store, and the first store I went to, they had some like $30 sneakers, but they didn't have my size. So I was shopping around, and finally I saw this sneaker spot downtown, and I went into the store, and I walked up to the guy who worked there, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just looking for some workout sneakers. So he pointed me to some track sneakers, and I'm like, okay, these look all right. And I looked at the prices of the sneakers, and I'm picking up the sneakers, I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the price, I'm like, shit's not right. So I go to another pair of sneakers, I pick it up, the same thing, like, I mean, I like the sneakers, but the price is just ridiculous. So finally, after doing this a couple more times, I turn to the guy who works at the store, who is behind the counter, and I say, where are the prices for the sneakers? And he says, just look underneath the sneakers. There's a sticker underneath the sneakers. So I pick up a pair of sneakers, I look underneath, and I say, $180? I just want some regular workout sneakers. So the guy behind the counter tells me, this is what he tells me. He says, no. Those aren't regular workout sneakers. Those are super workout sneakers. They help you work out extra hard. What I've been doing for the last 5 seconds is basically what I did in that store. I mean, it was just completely instinctual and spontaneous. Like, I was laughing so hard, like my head just tilted back to the sky. That's how hard I was laughing at this guy. So I took the sneakers, put it back on the rack, was like, no thank you, turned around and walked out the store. I can't believe this guy tried to sell me $180 workout sneakers. What the fuck was wrong with this guy? Anyway, now that funny story's out the way, let's get into the summary and analysis of this week's chapter. And looking at my notes, I'm pretty sure it's going to be quite a long chapter review. Just before I start off, I have one preliminary thing I need to say, which is that the manga stream translation was really fucked up for this chapter. And in general, I found that the quality of the manga stream translations have been dropping for quite a while now. Pretty rapidly. It's a pretty rapid decline in quality. And of course, I'm always appreciative and grateful for the people who work hard at manga stream, but that doesn't change the fact that the quality of the translations are just dropping. And that isn't to say that Manga Panda is any better, because they're not the most eloquent when it comes to writing in English. Let's just put it that way. And as a result of this, I've found that over the last couple of weeks, I've had to have the manga stream translation open in one tab, and then the manga panda translations open in another tab, and I have to read them back and forth simultaneously so that I can sort of get the complete context of what's going on and what's being said. I would have been completely confused if I didn't do that this week, because the pronouns in the manga stream translation were just absolutely ridiculous. They're completely fucked up. Alright, now let's get into Naruto and the Sage of the Six Paths. Before I get into that, let me just say this, though. For all of you who were hoping for that big Naruto versus Sasuke fight, it's not going to happen. Because it's official. They've made up in this chapter. They've kissed, made up. Now they're butt buddies all over again. So that huge fight, you might get something like the end of S. Cry Ed with Ryuho and Kazuma. You might get something like that, a friendly quarrel. But that big fight you were hoping for, obviously not going to happen. Now let's go into Naruto's characterization. Naruto's characterization has always been rather problematic because it's been so inconsistent. I mean, that's probably the major problem with Naruto's characterization, is its inconsistency. He starts off at the beginning of the series with this childlike mentality, and then it seemed like he grew out of it with the whole Jiraiya thing and the whole Pain thing. And I'm still in the minority about the Pain arc. I still think that Pain arc was absolutely fantastic and was definitely one of the best arcs in the series. But somehow, even despite those seeming advances in his characterization, when he had to deal with Jiraiya and Pain in the aftermath of the destruction of Konoha, somehow he still managed to keep that child mentality, despite all of this. And as a result, his characterization has just been really, really problematic. And even the Sage of Six Paths mentions this when he talks about how Naruto was foolish or naive or whatever. And Kishimoto tries to spin this as a positive. In other words, to say that because Naruto is foolish or naive or eccentric or whatever, that perhaps he can give rise to a different possibility that will end this cycle of conflict between the reincarnated Ashura and Indra. But the fact of the matter is that that's bullshit. And Naruto just never grew up. His characterization never really took off and leveled out in a way that I would have expected it to. I mean, he just, like I said, he just never grew up. And to be honest, I'm just not sure what Naruto is supposed to be now. I'm not sure about his characterization. I'm just not sure about his characterization. I don't know what he's supposed to be or represent. I mean, of course, we have that whole kitty thing about willpower and friendship and Nakama and all that bullshit. But what else besides that? All of that is just superficial. All of that's just superficial. I'm looking for something deeper than that. And as of right now, with respect to Naruto's characterization, I find myself completely baffled. And not only this, because this is already bad enough, but not only this, but now we've learned that he's just a reincarnated version of Ashura. And I have to say, I don't really like this. I mean, I don't hate it, because again, Naruto's characterization has been kind of since the beginning. So I mean, there's nothing to hate about it. I've become acclimated to it so far. But I gotta say, I really, really don't like it. And I have several reasons for not liking this. First of all, the setup was just terrible. I mean, really? Naruto has felt Ashura's presence within him before? If that's true, then why was there no foreshadowing of this? I mean, unless I'm just missing something obvious, unless I'm just overlooking something. I don't remember any foreshadowing of anything like this at any point in the manga. Never saw any foreshadowing of this. We never even got so much as an intimation of this possibility. And that silly flashback that Kishimoto had in this chapter was basically just a ridiculous retcon. Because it didn't freaking happen like that. It just really didn't happen like that. I mean, Kishimoto can try and superimpose some ex post facto interpretation on those events, but that just didn't happen that way. So this means that we have a situation where presumably an important aspect of a character's personality has just been kept under wraps for damn near 700 chapters with no foreshadowing of what was going on. It's a little ridiculous, to say the least. Second problem I have with this. Whatever characterization Naruto did have, and like I said before, it's not that much, but whatever characterization he did have has now been significantly diminished. I mean, if it was like this before, it's now like this. Like, as close as these two fingers can get together without actually touching. Why? Because at this point, Naruto is just a carbon copy. He's just a carbon copy. And that's ironic that Naruto would turn out to be a reincarnated clone of Ashura when his favorite jutsu is Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Just saying, that's rather ironic. So this basically means that Ashura's character traits and his personality simply subsumes Naruto's personality and character traits. I mean, Naruto almost just is Ashura. And the reason why that's frustrating is because now we're stuck with wondering what's the real difference between Naruto and Ashura? What's the real difference? If Naruto is just a sort of reincarnated clone of Ashura, then in what sense is his characterization unique or his character traits unique? Now here's what the Sage of the Six Paths said about Naruto's character, his personality. And I'm going to quote from both the Manga Stream translation and the Manga Panda translation here. The Manga Stream translation, the Sage of the Six Paths says this: unlike the previous predecessors, meaning the predecessors of Ashura, you've got this strange bit of foolishness to you, and that has possibly given birth to this different possibility. Now for the Manga Panda translation. Unlike the previous transmigrants, you're a bit stupid and eccentric. I think that can make a difference. So after 671 chapters, Naruto's defining character traits are eccentric, foolish, naive, and stupid. The fuck? After 700 that's it? Those are his defining character traits? That's all we can say about him? Needless to say, this is just whack sauce. It's absolute whack sauce. Third problem I have with this scenario. If it's true for Naruto, then the implication is that it's also true for the reincarnated versions of Indra, which in this case would be Sasuke, but I don't give a shit about Sasuke. I'm especially concerned about Madara. So you mean to tell me everything I liked about Madara's character and his characterization was just him copying Indra? So you take probably the most intriguing, most interesting, most charismatic, most forceful, most impactful, most awesome character in Naruto, the one with the best characterization, and you make him a clone of another character from hundreds of years before? And yes, I understand that Madara is a little bit different from Naruto in the sense that at least Madara's a little bit more unique because he actually has an ideology that I don't think Indra had, which is that Madara had an ideology where he despises chakra and he sees chakra as just a symbol or representative of the corruption of human nature. And now he wants the complete eradication of chakra because he thinks that it's necessary for the existence of peace. So, I mean, at least Madara is unique in that sense, but still, he's just a sort of copy of Indra. That's whack. That's whack sauce. And I really don't understand it. What's the point of these people? What's the point if these people are just acting out a cycle, just acting out roles, acting out the roles of freaking a sage of six paths children, who, by the way, we really don't know shit about anyway? What's the point? Does this mean that the decisions and the choices that they've made up until this point have just been predetermined, predestined by the fact that they've been reincarnated as other characters based on some ancient feud? I mean, maybe it's just me, but does this not diminish the value of their choices to learn that they're just acting out particular character roles from other people? And I don't want to get into a debate about determinism and free will and whether or not free will is possible if determinism is true. I don't want to get into that debate. But these are the kinds of complicated issues that are now being raised by this recent revelation. It's just unavoidable. Now let me talk about the Sage of the Six Paths specifically. First, the Sage of Six Paths gives us some interesting and very important information. So here's the interesting facts that we get from the Sage of Six Paths. And I'll do this, then I'll talk about why the Sage of Six Paths is basically just a fucking idiot. First interesting fact. We now have absolute confirmation on how Madara got the Rinnegan. And we pretty much knew this already, but a new and very important detail has been added to the mix. So apparently, Madara didn't just get the Rinnegan because he combined Hashirama Senju's cells with his own body. And it's not just because you need the DNA or the blood mixed together from the Uchiha and the Senju, but apparently it's because there was a fusion of Ashura and Indra's chakra, and that's what gave Madara the Rinnegan. Interesting retcon. Interesting fact number 2. We now have clarification on precisely what Infinite Tsukiyomi is. So according to the sages of the six paths, Infinite Tsukiyomi just isn't a genjutsu. It also connects everyone in the world to the Shinju and drains their chakra. And that chakra goes directly to the person who casts the genjutsu, which in this case would be Madara. And he's able to wield the chakra of everybody in the entire world. So in effect, he keeps these people inside of a genjutsu forever, connects them to the Shinju, and turns them into zombie slaves, essentially. And if he does this, apparently, the Shinju will also produce another chakra fruit, according to the Sage's Six Paths. Third interesting fact. We get semi-confirmation that Madara is close in power to the Sage of the Six Paths. At least this is true if you go by the manga stream translation. And the manga panda translation, it's not super duper clear. It's a little bit different. But this is basically what the Sage of Six Paths says. He says, Indra's successor, i.e. Madara, has obtained the power of the Ten Tails, a power close to mine, and is attempting to gain a power like Kaguya's, which is Sage of Six Paths' mother. If this translation is true, and like I said, this seems to only be the case in the manga stream translation because the manga panda translation is a little bit different. But if this translation is true, then I was right before. I was absolutely right to say that the original Sage of the Six Paths was weaker than we initially thought. Because it's really the only explanation for why anybody should even be able to touch Madara Uchiha. I mean, if the freaking Jubi is the god of the shinobi world and is the progenitor of everything that exists in the Naruto world, and somebody absorbs that power and controls it, then nobody should be able to fucking touch him. It just shouldn't be that way, unless he's significantly weaker than we should expect or what we thought he should be. It's the only explanation. So now let's talk about the Sage of Six Paths and why he's a fucking idiot and all of his contradictions. I previously discussed the dangers of introducing new characters this late in the series. I talked about this specifically when I was talking about who the hell is inside of Spiral Zetsu. So I won't go over that right now, because I don't really have time to. But the main problem here, just like I said before, is one of characterization. And the Sage of Six Paths is a fucking idiot, because his characterization is just freaking haywire. He's introduced so late into the series that there's no foundation for his characterization. And the stuff that he says just comes off as just freaking downright idiotic. Like, Kishimoto was just not paying attention when he was putting these words in the Sage of Six Paths' mouth. So this is what the Sage of Six Paths says. It is my belief that no one person's chakra should be so much greater than any other person's. Wait, what? Who sees the contradiction and problem with this? I do. Me. I do. Remember, this is the guy who became the fucking Jinchuriki of the Jubi. And remember, he also had a brother. The Sage of the Six Paths also had a brother. And they didn't split that power of the Jubi between them. No. The Sage of Six Paths became the Jinchuriki of the Jubi. So what the hell is he talking about? His philosophy is that no one person's chakra should be so much greater than any other person's. You were the Jinchuriki of the Jubi. And remember, not only that, remember, this is the guy who gave all of his power to one son rather than splitting it between the two. He's the primary cause of this entire transgenerational feud. It's his fault. Because rather than bequeathing his inheritance to both sons, he gave it all to one son at the expense of the other. So again, what is he talking about? He doesn't believe that any one person's chakra should be so much greater than the other person's. I mean, presumably this just doesn't apply to chakra, but it must also apply to power as well. If you think that chakra is a form of power and absolute power leads to corruption, then why would he do that? It doesn't make sense. And he absolutely says this in this chapter. This is what the Sage of Six Paths says to Naruto. He says, by looking at the... No. Sorry. Got mixed up with my notes. But basically, because I didn't copy that quote. But basically, he admitted this to Naruto. He said, I fucked up. I'm basically the primary cause of this because I gave everything to Ashura, didn't include Indra in anything, and I mean, basically just crying and moaning like a bitch, which is very unbecoming of the legendary Sage of Six Paths. And what's really sad, maybe not sad, but disappointing about this whole scenario is that the Sage of Six Paths was made out to be this wise, sagacious, judicious person or ruler, when in reality, he's not like that at all. He's just a fucking idiot. A contradictory idiot. And this is ironic because everybody in the Naruto world absolutely deifies this guy. And it gets even worse. Listen to what the Sage of the Six Paths says when he's talking to Naruto about the Biju. He said, by looking at the way Biju are used, it's clear that they are kept as weapons and not to maintain the balance and peace of the world. Maybe I was too naive. You think? You think that you might have been naive? Separating the Jubi into the 9 Biju and giving each Biju to different regions or nations, you actually believe that that was a fucking good idea? I mean, seriously, was the Sage of Six Paths really stupid enough to believe that humans could use what are basically the equivalent of weapons of mass destruction peacefully? No, come on, you couldn't have been that stupid. Hagoromo, please don't tell me you were that fucking stupid. Especially, and he shouldn't have made this mistake, especially when you consider the fact that his mother was the prototypical example of this. His mother originally ate the chakra fruit to end a war, to end the global war. What did you think would happen if you gave these sorts of weapons to humans? That they wouldn't use them as weapons of war? You couldn't have believed that. Especially when your own mother ate the fruit of the Shinju and basically became a tyrant. Also, one final thing. This whole child of prophecy thing. I really only have one thing to say about that. Neji was right the whole time, obviously. Just that simple. Neji was right the whole time. And again, it sucks. Just sucks. It sucks because it goes against Naruto's characterization. Everything that Naruto was supposed to stand for, his whole ninja way, was about hard work and choices and to figure out he's the child of prophecy. Neji was right. That's pretty much the end of it. So yeah, those are basically all the problems I had with not just chapter 670, but this chapter. So I don't even know what to say or what to think about what's gonna happen. Presumably now Naruto and Sasuke are gonna become the new Sage of Six Paths, and I am excited for that simply because I just want to see this fight now. I just want to at least be entertained by the fight. If the deeper ideological conflicts can't be explored and resolved, I at least want an entertaining fight. Can a nigga just at least get that? So, this was your boy Uber Hikari, aka the Nerd Nigga. Just brought you another video with no frills, just the analysis. Peace and have a blessed day.